Sound check. 1 2 1 2. One two 1 2 sound check. 1 2. Just waiting to get live on LinkedIn. LinkedIn is going live. This may take a few seconds, is what LinkedIn says. All right, it is live now. Good morning, LinkedIn. Good morning, my Facebook business page. What's the / work on your game university? Good morning to X. My name on X is at Dre All Day. Good morning, Rumble. I don't even know what my name is on Rumble. Just look me up. You can find it. And shout out to YouTube. We are live on YouTube / at Dre B. Instagram at Dre Baldwin. Good morning. And TikTok. I believe my name on TikTok is Work on Your Game. Good morning to everybody who is checking this. I am live indeed on 7 different platforms. 1 2 3 4 5 6 7 all at the same time. So I'm saying good morning to all these platforms. I'm being watched in more than one place today. As some of you can see, some of you on TikTok. TikTok, can y'all see the topic? Can y'all see the title of the stream or the title of whatever I'm talking about? Can y'all see that when you log into this? Or does it just say somebody's live and you just tune in, but it doesn't give you the title? If you're on TikTok, can you see the title of the live? Like the topic that I put in? Is every time I start a live on TikTok, they ask me for a title. So I'm just asking for a yes or no on TikTok. Can you see the title / topic that I'm talking about? So y'all can't see that. So I don't know why TikTok always asks me to put a title in, but then y'all can't even see it. So I have no idea why that is. But anyway, the topic here today, people saying they can't see it. I don't know what TikTok is doing, but hopefully TikTok stays around. Topic here today is why I would never get involved in politics. That's what we're talking about. Why I personally would never get involved in politics. So when I do my lives, especially when I'm talking about current events and political topics, people will leave comments and say stuff like, Dre, maybe you should get into politics or run for some type of political office, maybe because you agree with my stances and positions, and you like the fact that I aim for being logical and objective and dispassionate about the topics of which I speak, and I do aim to do those things. The issue is, and I'm gonna lay out all the issues. Actually, there's more than one issue, so it's not one thing. The issues are the things I'm going to lay out in this live here today. I'm going to help you understand why I understand that I am not built for the political space. I'm not built to play in a political game. Not because there are certain skills that it's not even that I lack the skills. It's just I don't even want those skills. I don't want to use them. I don't want to acquire them. And even if I have them, I don't want to deploy them as much as you would need to if you're going to be a successful politician in the United States of America, and mostly other countries as well. But I'll speak about USA politics because that's the country that I live in. That's where I live. And that's what I understand the best of anything involving politics. So let me introduce myself first. My name is Dre Baldwin. Many know me as Dre All Day, former 9-year pro athlete, author of 35 books, and 4 TEDx talks, created this brand called Work on Your Game. What we do here is help you perform at your highest level, do so consistently, produce more results, work with people from all different backgrounds and the professional and entrepreneurial spaces, whether it's from finance to the food business, to the clothing business, to construction business, to the teaching people to play music, to single moms who are looking to help other single moms, and a plethora of other people all in between. Why? Because the through line of what I do is that I am objective. I keep it real. I get straight to the point, and I know how to break complex things down to make them simple enough and easy enough for anybody to apply and understand. All that being said, let's get into the topic here today, which is why I would not personally get involved in politics. How many points do I have here today? I got 9 points. Let's get through these. And when I'm done, by the way, I will take questions and comments. So anybody have a question or a comment while I'm speaking, just wait till I'm done. When I get through with the points, and I'll address everybody's questions and comments on all applications, whatever there may be. So number one, These are not necessarily in any particular order, but maybe they will be. Number one, that when you work in politics or you work in any type of bureaucratic environment, such as corporate America, academia, and there are many others, any type of bureaucracy. So if you work in the police department, you work in the fire department, you work in any type of government, local or federal government, you must, if you're going to succeed, you must pretend that you like people who you don't actually like. I don't really like doing that. I'm not a fan of pretending. You got to be cordial and nice to people who you really don't respect. You have to pretend to like people who you actually do not like. You got to shake hands with people who you know are being fake, and then you got to be fake because you're pretending to be cool with a person who you believe is fake. You got to do all that stuff when you're a politician. You got to deal with all this. I'm just not into that at all. This is one of the reasons why I am an entrepreneur, so that I don't have to pretend to like anybody who I don't like. If I worked in corporate America, I could probably do pretty well in corporate America in certain environments, certain industries. But the problem is when you work in corporate, again, if there's 300 people working at the company, guaranteed there's going to be some people who you're not really feeling, but you can't tell them that you're not feeling them. You can't not shake their hand. You can't not say hi to them when you see them in the elevator. And you see, you got to do all this stuff when you work in these bureaucratic environments. I don't like doing these things. So that's why again, politics is just one space in which this applies. It applies in other ones as well. In politics, you have to pretend. You got to do a lot of pretending, and you got to do a lot of faking in order to be successful as a politician. And it doesn't mean everything you're about is pretending and fake, but you got to do a healthy amount of it to succeed. And it's hard to succeed in politics while being completely authentic. This is why most of the politicians who you can name, I would say 99% of the politicians who you can name, cannot be completely authentic to who they are as a person and succeed. And when I say succeed, that means actually win elections or get appointments or be approved or chosen, like similar to like cabinet picks. They didn't actually win elections, but they still had to be approved and confirmed. You got to be very fake. You got to do a whole lot of faking in there. And that's not an environment that I would even want to be in. I would even want to be involved in. I don't want to be involved in those type of environments, because as soon as I'm not feeling the person, I'm gonna let them know that I'm not feeling them. And if I did that in politics, that'd be ending my career. I did it in corporate, I'd be fired from my job. I did it in academia, I would get fired. So again, this is the reason why I don't work in these spaces. I don't like faking. Number two, we're talking here today about why I personally would never get involved in politics. Number two, to win elections in the United States of America as a politician, you must lie. You have to lie. It is impossible to win elections in the United States, especially at the federal level, without lying. You must tell lies to win. So all politicians are liars. I know a lot of people like to say, well, Donald Trump told this many lies, and people all of a sudden they wanted to quote unquote fact check everything that Donald Trump says, and they want to list all the lies that he said. And then after the debates are over, people are posting their fact checking of Donald Trump. After the debates are over, I want to let you all in on a piece of news. All of them lie. All right, they all lie. The only difference between Donald Trump and all the other politicians you know of, both Democrat and Republican, is that Donald Trump has gotten so many people to dislike him that they decided to go through everything that he says with a fine-tooth comb and point out his quote-unquote lies. But see, was people like someone like Joe Biden or Hillary Clinton or Obama, they didn't get, or Bill Clinton, they didn't have so many people going through the details of their situation to try to find the lies, because they're not looking. If you're not looking for something, you might not find it. But if you look for something, you'll probably find plenty of it. Any of you want to find someone lying, all you got to do is listen to a politician talk and go through every single line of everything that they say, and I guarantee you're going to find a whole bunch of lies. They all lie. Again, the only difference with Trump is that people are so emotionally engaged in dislike of him that they're pointing out his lies more than they point out Obama's lies. But if you listen to a Trump speech, you listen to Obama's speech, they're both lying the exact same amount. Donald Trump is not lying any more than any other politician. They all lie. And this is one of the reasons why I would not want to be in politics, because it's part of the game that you have to do this. So when I say all politicians lie, don't take this as it's a negative thing about politicians. This is just the game. And politics in the United States of America, you must lie, okay? Because you have to please a whole lot of people. To be a politician in America, you have to please so many people, or at least pretend that you're going to please so many people that, first of all, it's impossible for you to actually follow through on every promise you make to every person, whether that be fellow politicians, whether it be a donor or supporter, whether it be some person running some small committee in some corner of the government, whether it be voters themselves. You have to tell so many lies to get enough support to win an election that is impossible for you to actually follow through on everything you said you were going to do. And You know that you can't follow through on everything you said you're going to do, but you say it anyway. That means you're lying. If 100 people ask me for a favor in exchange for supporting me to win an election, and I tell all 100 people that, yes, I'm going to do that favor for you after I win, and I know for a fact that I cannot follow through on all 100 of those favors because some of the favors that I get asked for by this person are in direct conflict with the favor I got asked for by this person. So let's say there's two people on opposite sides of the aisle politically, and I ask both of them to support me. And one of them says, well, when this comes up, I want you to vote no. And this person says, when that same thing comes up, I want you to vote yes. And I tell both of them that I'm going to do what they asked me to do. I'm lying to them. I have to be lying to at least one of them. But to get their support, I got to tell both of them to lie. Because if I don't get enough support, then I can't win the election. I'm simplifying this heavily, but I want you all to understand this is generally how politics works in America. That's a microcosm of how it works. You got to say yes to everybody. And I'm going to give you all a couple examples in a moment. But you have to get the majority of people to like you, whether that's fellow politicians who have the poll, who can kind of get you support from this group or that group or that group. And this is one of the reasons why when we talk about education, I'll talk about that a lot here in these live streams, the challenge of the educational system here in America. The teachers union has a lot of, and teachers union it comes with it. What comes with getting the support of the teachers union is a whole lot of votes. And you have to go along whatever the teachers union wants. So when someone like Donald Trump comes out and says, we're going to dismantle, the Department of Education, well, all those votes that he could have got by saying something that the teachers union wanted to hear, he knew he was sacrificing those votes. That's a big sacrifice. So to make up for that loss, he had to go get some support somewhere else. This is the way politics works. So there are no perfect solutions in politics. And this is the reason why politicians tend to age very quickly, because they got to deal with all the stress of knowing the reality. When they come to understand the reality of what I just told you, this is why you see Barack Obama go from looking really young, looking real in just 8 years, and a whole bunch of other politicians. It's because of the stress that comes with knowing you cannot possibly please everybody, yet everybody expects you to please them. What do you do in that situation? And every single 30 phone calls and requests and emails from people who want you to serve them and to do something for them, knowing that you're going to have to disappoint a whole bunch of people in order to please these people over here, or vice versa. And this is your job full time every day for as long as you're in office. All right, how many of you want to sign up for that? That's how politics works. Any level of politics. So to get the majority of people to like you got to tell them enough lies that they will support you. If you go out there and keep it real, and that moves to my third point. If I was to run for political office and I was to come out and talk about the kind of things that I talk about in the way that I speak about it, I would not win an election, because I would not be able to appease enough of the voters to win the election. Because all my opponent would have to do is tell the voters a lot of things that they want to hear, as opposed to my approach was to telling people what they need to hear, and it'd be over. I wouldn't even make it through a primary. It'd be over. I wouldn't even be able to get donors who had money to support my campaign so I could run enough advertising to win. I would never make it. I wouldn't even get out the starting block. My campaign, if I ran for any type of political office, would be similar to Kamala Harris's campaign in 2019 going into 2020. I wouldn't even really get to the starting block, the serious starting block. Why? Because as soon as I give people the reality here, the reality is, folks, that yes, I can find a way to lower your taxes, but in exchange for lowering your taxes, then there's going to be a bill that comes due for those lower taxes several years down the road. Y'all okay with that? Y'all all right with that? And I'll lower the taxes now. Or you could pay more now and I could lower the taxes later. But either way, there's no perfect solution to this situation. So if you're looking for a perfect solution, it ain't happening. As soon as I get up on a stage or on a microphone or in an interview and say some shit like that, my campaign will be over. My campaign manager and whoever's in charge of whatever political party I'm behind is going to send me a phone call. They're going to make a phone call to me and say, Dre, you said what you said. You're not wrong with what you said, but at the same time, you cannot play politics talking like that. Your campaign is over. We're turning off your access to the money. Your donors are taking all their money back, and you're done. Your career is over. Go back to what you were doing before. That's how it will go. All right. So this is why I could not be in politics, because you cannot, as a politician, come up and just tell people a direct truth. Because here's the reality of truth, ladies and gentlemen, is that there is a give and a take with truth. So when you hear politicians talk, they'll say stuff like, we're going to lower your taxes, or we're going to lower the cost of groceries and lower the cost of gas, and you're going to get free healthcare, and we're going to give this much money to everybody who wants to buy a house, and we're going to fix this situation with the schools, and we're going to do all these other things. Politicians come out and tell you all these great things that they're going to do. The problem with this is, and this is a reality of life, that there are no perfect scenarios. There are only trade-offs. There is no perfect scenario in life, in any aspect of life, relationship wise, business wise, personal wise, career wise. There's no situation that's perfect. Now, there may be a situation that you prefer, but there's no situation that's perfect because everything has a cost. So any politician, when they get up on the microphone and they tell you all these great things that they're going to do, here's what they don't tell you: the cost of all those great things, because none of them are free. All of you understand. Well, let me not assume you understand. In economics, there are two key laws you should understand. Anything that has to do with economics, and you don't need to have any economics degree to understand this. Number one rule of economics is supply and demand. Number two rule of economics is that, and this is actually a law, it's not a rule, it's a law, is that there are no perfect scenarios, therefore there are no free lunches. Therefore, when a politician tells you that they're going to give you, the people, something, but they don't tell you what it's going to cost to give it to you, they are giving you the presumption of a free lunch. I'm going to lower your taxes, but they don't tell you how they're going to lower the taxes, because that money still has to come from somewhere. And see, a politician doing that, that's what we call lying by omission. They're lying by not telling you the whole story. And if I know I'm not telling you the whole story, and yet I tell you the piece that makes you feel good, I am lying because I know better. Now, if I'm only telling you the piece that makes you feel good and I don't know the other piece, then I'm in some way misinforming you. But if I know, and as a politician, trust me, they know what the trade-off is of lowering your taxes, for example, but they don't tell you that on the campaign trail. Is that they told you that, you wouldn't get excited enough to go vote for them. Therefore, they can't win. So telling the truth is antithetical to being a successful politician. Everybody understand this? The truth requires you telling people the good side and the bad side. So the good side is, we're going to lower the cost of X, Y, Z. The bad side is, we're going to raise your taxes in order to do it. See, if I told you that, you wouldn't vote for me. Would you vote for that? If a politician said that, of course you wouldn't. Nobody would vote for that. And this is the reason why no politician does it, because they understand they can't win talking like that. And I would talk like that, and that's why I'm not in politics. And again, the only way I could be successful, I would have to turn that part of my communication off. I would have to stop talking like that and just tell you the part that makes you feel good. And then I would know, it would be on my conscience to understand that I have to lie by omission, at least, or more, in order to be successful, in order to maintain my career. And I'm just not wired in such a way that I could do that for an extended period of time. I could do it for 30 minutes. I could do it for an hour, but I wouldn't want to do that all day, every day. I have more fun just telling people objectively what it is. There's a lane for that too, but that lane ain't politics. You know what I'm saying? There's a lane for doing what I do, and the lane for doing what I do is more like what I'm doing. But doing this, and you want to understand why, or you want a visual of why, look around in politics. Have you ever seen a politician talk the way that I talk? I'm not the only one who understands what I understand. I'm not the only one who has the ability to articulate it, but have you ever heard a politician talk like this? No, not a successful one. You may have heard some losing politicians try to talk like this, and they learn really, really quickly, you can't be in this game talking like that. It's impossible. So understand that to reach the masses of people, we're talking on the federal level or even a local level, you're trying to be the mayor or the governor, that you must reach the masses of people, and you have to appease a large mass of people. Let's just say a majority of the masses of people have to be on board with you in order for you to win. So sometimes when I'm talking about these topics, people will be in the comments like, well, Dre, we love the fact that you're objective and you're logical and you keep it real. Here's the thing that all of you need to understand. Do the masses of people appreciate something like that? I'm talking to masses of people. So let's say you live in a state and there are 20 million people in the state. Do at least 10 million people in the state love hearing objectivity and logic and rational thinking and hearing someone who has thought things out and can explain them in a compendious way? Do the majority of people want to hear that? The answer is hell no. You can't win an election talking like that, because the masses of people, first of all, the stuff that I talk about requires you to do a little bit of thinking. Logic requires thinking. So if you're going to explain something to someone logically, they have to be willing to think, because you're going to offer them something that they have to kind of make sense of in their own minds. So here's what all of you should understand about reaching the masses of people, is that they don't think. I'm going to tell you 3 realities about human beings. Number 1, most people do not think. Number 2, most people do not read. And number 3, most people are generally lazy. So if you want to reach the masses of people, you have to meet them where they're at. You can't challenge them to think. You cannot ask them to read anything. and you can't ask them to put forth any effort. If you want to reach the masses of people, you got to offer them something that doesn't require any one of these three things: thinking, reading, or effort. You're not reaching the masses. If you ask for those things, you're talking to a small percentage of the population, and you cannot win an election through which you need to reach the masses if you're asking people to think, read, or work. Do y'all understand this? So this is why when Donald Trump comes out and he says something like, "Make America great again," you don't have to think, you don't have to read, and it doesn't take effort to understand that. That's the reason why he was able to get a mass of people to support him. And the same thing with Democratic politicians. Let's take someone like Barack Obama. He's been, I think, on the Democratic side in this century, he's been the best. Barack Obama's campaign was all about what? Change. That was his whole thing, change. His whole campaign was based on change. Donald Trump's campaign was based on make America great again. And the parallels between the two of them is that they're very, very simple concepts to understand, which means even a person with no intellect, no knowledge, no informational advances in anything can understand what it means. That's how you win elections. You got to use very, very simple concepts, and they had to be able to reach a mass audience of people who don't think, don't read, and don't want to work. If your point can get across to them, you can be successful in politics. But as soon as you start getting all complex and going into details and explaining the logical connections between one thing and the next thing, and as soon as you start sounding too smart, it's over, because you start alienating your audience, because most people are not smart enough to keep up. So you can't win elections talking like this. All right, does everybody understand this? You cannot win elections doing this. And you tell people the truth, all right, they don't want to hear it. All right, people need simple and basic ideas. And again, while I'm capable of talking in that way, it's not my everyday cup of tea. I want to talk to people with a little bit of a level of intellect and logic, and who can understand it, who can follow me. I can simplify things, but I don't want to dumb it down all the way to the base level. Now, if you like doing that and you can do it, get into politics, because there's a lane open for you. And at the same time, you can't keep it real too much. You can't keep it real and win in politics. Now, all right, moving on. Next point. I'm telling you here today why I can never be involved in politics. Everybody has a damn agenda. Everybody has a personal agenda. When I say everybody, I mean the fellow politicians that you have to work with in order to succeed. If you're going to win an election, understand, first of all, you got to get other politicians who have already won elections to be okay with you and to support you and to help you, because what they can do is reach out to their audience of supporters, the voters, and tell their voters to vote for you. Same thing, you hear Donald Trump talk about this all the time, that when the midterm elections and stuff come up, if he wants a certain person in the state, he will put his support behind them. And if he wants a person to lose, he'll support their opponent. And he has the pull to sway the outcome of these elections based on who he decides to support and or who he decides to go against. And the Democrats, again, in more subtle ways, but they do the exact same thing. The issue is when you're in politics and you want another politician to support you, understand they all ask for something in exchange. Nobody gives you support for free. What I just tell you, the second law of economics, there is no such thing as a free lunch. So if I'm running for, if y'all were paying attention this week, hopefully some of you have paid attention, but have y'all watched these Senate confirmation hearings that happened this week? There were two of them that I paid the most attention to. I paid attention to, I saw and watched, or listened to rather, three of them. So there was Pete Hegseth, who was going for Secretary of Defense. There was Pam Bondi, who's going to Attorney General. And then the third one, I forget this guy's name, Doug Bergman, something like that. He's going to be like Secretary of Interior, which is like the land in America. That one was kind of boring, but I listened to a good amount of it. The thing is, all three confirmation hearings had in common is that the way the hearings go is that you got half Democrats, half Republicans, senators who sit up on the dais and they basically grill the person who was up for confirmation. And they go over your background, they ask you a bunch of questions, and every single one of them says, hey, here's the thing. They don't say it in this way, but they'll say something like, here's the thing that matters to me as a senator. And I'm asking you that if and when you get this office that you've been appointed for by President-elect Donald Trump, do I have your word and do I have your commitment that you're going to make sure that you pay attention to this? You make sure you have a meeting with me about this. Can you make sure that you do things to give money to this? Can you make sure you do that? And then the person who's sitting in the seat, of course, they always say yes. They say, yes, of course, Senator. Yes, I'll help you out, Senator. Yes, I'll meet with you, Senator. Yes, I'll make sure I do that, Senator. And every single senator who is asking that person who's up for the hearing, every single senator who is talking to them, they all ask for something. Every single one of them. So if you listen to the Pam Bondi one, you listen to the Pete Hegseth one, and some of them actually, let me be clear, not all of them, because some of them only just attacked. So being that Donald Trump has a whole bunch of people emotionally against him, and he appointed all these people, Pete Hegseth and Pam Bondi got a lot of Democratic senators who are on these committees, because you got to be part of the committee to get into these, be on the hearings. They got people, Democrats on these committees to just attack them. So can you say right now, Pam Bondi, can you say that Donald Trump lost the election in 2020? And then it becomes a back and forth about that. And they got a certain amount of time. So those people don't really ask for anything. They're just trying to win some points for the cameras and make the Trump appointment look bad. But the Republicans have control of, they got the majority. So it doesn't really matter. They don't need it for them. They're still going to get in. So Hegseth is getting in. Pam Bondi's getting in. Doesn't really matter what any of the Democrats say. They're doing that all for show. It's all for the cameras. And I'm going to get to that in a minute. The point being, even the ones who are actually somewhat like nice, whether it's a Democrat or a Republican, they're all asking for something. Everybody's asking for something. Have y'all listened to these hearings? Just listen to them. I'm like, how is this? I'm listening to the Pete Hegseth one. I'm listening to the Pam Bondi one. I listened to this guy. I think it's Doug Bergman or Bergman, whatever his name is. He's going to be Secretary of the Interior. And I'm listening to the hearings, and I'm like, God damn. Every single person is asking for something, and they're saying yes to everybody. I'm like, how are they going to do all these things? They're saying yes to every single thing. This is what you got to do when you're in politics. Everybody wants something. Everybody wants something. And every congressperson wants to look good for their constituency. They want to look good for the cameras, or they're going to try to use you to try to make you look bad, even though they don't really have any influence on the overall outcome of what's going to happen. Because again, right now, the Republicans have a majority in everything. So when Donald Trump, you got to say Donald Trump got a clean sweep. The popular vote, the electoral college, the Senate, and the House, they got control of everything. So it doesn't really matter what the Democrats think, but they're going to fight. And this got to deal with all this stuff when you're a politician. That moves right into my next point. When you work in politics, especially at the federal level, this applies at the local level as well. It's just fewer people. At the local level, it's fewer people. The stakes are lower. But it's the same thing. I'm using federal because all of you are familiar with it and we all live in different places. It is impossible to please everybody, but everybody demands that you please them. Again, you want to look at the picture of Barack Obama when he first got elected in 2008, and then look at the picture of Barack Obama when he left office in 2016-17 when Trump took over. Look at the difference in the pictures between him, early Barack and later Barack. What's the difference? All right, that's the stress of dealing with 8 years of this shit, what I just described to you. Everybody wants something, and you have to at least pretend and pay lip service to the fact that you're going to try to give everybody what they want, knowing that you can't do it, or realizing later on that you can't do it, and you got to disappoint somebody by telling them, hey, I can't do this, can't do that. All the while, everybody on the opposite political side from you. So if you're a Democrat, then all the Republicans. And if you're a Republican, all the Democrats. All they're doing is shooting arrows at you all day, every day to try to make you look bad, sound bad, and stop you from doing what you want to do. This is the job of being a politician. Again, who signs up for this? Not me. Who signs up for doing that job? The whole time you're at work, half the people there are trying to make you look bad. They're trying to make you sound bad. They're taking everything you do, everything you say, and using it against you. They're going in front of the cameras and trashing you. And then anything you try to get done, they're going to try to make you look, they're going to come up with some negative spin on it. And God forbid you need one of their help to get anything done. They're going to try to hold you over a barrel in order to get their help and then still not help you. This is what, if you want to understand this is what Barack Obama was dealing with in as part of his last term in office. He was a Democrat, but what happened is the Republicans took over Congress. So in order to get anything done for Barack Obama, he had to get some Republicans to go along with what he wanted to do. And to do that, all they would do is extract favors from him and extract other things from him in exchange. If I'm going to support you, I need you to do this, this, and this. And there are things that he didn't really want to do, but he didn't have a choice because he didn't have the votes in Congress to just get his Democrats to go with him. He didn't have enough votes. So he had to do this. And this is why he was so aged by the time he got out of office, because he had to deal with this shit every day. This is every day. It's not once a week. It's every day when you're a politician. Again, who signs up for this kind of stuff? I posted this on X yesterday when I was listening to even the Secretary of Interior, which wasn't as contentious as the Hegseth and Bondi hearings, because those had a lot of Democrat anger being lashed out. But this one was much more calm. But it was the same situation. Everybody's asking for something. Everybody wants something. That's the issue with politics, is everybody wants something, and you can't say no to everybody. You got to say yes to everybody, at least at the beginning. Then later on, you get to tell them the real, which is, hey, I can't do that. Can't follow through on that one. Excuse me. So the biggest problem with politics is you got to pretend like you're going to appease everybody, knowing that you can't appease everybody. And then again, later on, you got to deliver the bad news. Or let's say you deliver the bad news, or you don't deliver the bad news, but you don't appease the person who you were supposed to appease. Well, guess what they're going to do? They're going to go to the cameras. They're going to go to the press. They're going to go to the media and trash you to the media and trying to make you look bad to their fans and to your fans. And now you got to deal with that. Now you got this whole PR issue. And again, they got people working for them too. They got social media too. They have the ears of the press as well. And now you got all this happening the whole time you're supposed to be doing your job. All right, this is, again, how can you rest? How can you sleep? You think Barack Obama was getting good sleep during his 8 years in office? No, that's why he looked so old. That's why he looked 30 years older after only 8 years in office. Same thing with Trump. Same thing with Biden. Biden was already old. But every politician, all right, this is what you got to deal with. And again, who signs up for this? Now, moving on, next point. There's always somebody who can check you in some way, or someone to whom you must answer. This is even for the president. When you're in politics, there's always somebody you got to answer to. And this is another reason why I cannot work in politics. I'm an entrepreneur. I'm an entrepreneur not only in form, but I'm an entrepreneur in spirit, in that I abhor anybody being able to tell me what to do. And nobody in my life situation right now, nobody can tell me what to do. Somebody can ask me, but nobody can tell me what to do. When you work in politics, there's always somebody who, they may not necessarily be able to tell you what to do, but they can stop you from doing what you want to do. Which is damn near the same thing. Even at the presidential level, because remember, in government, we have the system of checks and balances. There are three branches of government: the executive, which is the president, the legislative, which is Congress, and the judicial, which is the SCOTUS, also known as the Supreme Court. So the president can't just do whatever they want to do. Even Donald Trump, as much as people try to fearmonger, like, oh, Donald Trump's going to be a dictator from day one. He's going to override the government. He's going to make himself a king and never leave office. He can't do that because he doesn't have the power to just do whatever he wants. The government is designed in that way. He's not a king. He's not a dictator. He's the president. And the president, to get anything done, he has to go through Congress in some way and or go through the Supreme Court in some way. And if Congress or the Supreme Court says, no, you can't do that, he can't do it. That's it. He can't do anything. He doesn't have any recourse. There's no backdoor plan B. And that's an issue when you're in politics if you like your independence, which is why it was very interesting overall still why somebody like Donald Trump, who is an entrepreneur, still is an entrepreneur, but was full-time entrepreneur, why would he give up this freedom to do whatever the hell you want to do and nobody can check you? Why would he give that up to go work somewhere where he can actually be checked? And he does get checked because, again, the system of checks and balances blocks you from doing whatever it is that you want to do. Because if there were no system of checks and balances, I guarantee he would have found a way he would have already served his second term. His second term would be ending right now because he would have been president for 2 terms. After 2020, he would have found a way to not have to leave. But anyway, there's always somebody who can check you in some way. Again, that's why they call it the system of checks and balances. So as an entrepreneur, I don't like being checked, and which is why I position myself to where it can't happen. So while as an entrepreneur, we do have clients and customers, and technically you can say your clients and customers are your boss. At the same time, it's not quite the same as having an actual boss like at your job. It's a different dynamic when you have clients and customers. It's often, depending on the way your business is set up, the way my business is set up, I am the expert. So even though I have clients and customers who are technically my boss because my money comes from them, at the same time, they're coming to me for my expertise. So I still have the dynamic is still, I'm the expert. You're coming to me for help. So it's not the same thing as working in politics. And the people who represent them the voters, the people out there, they can use them to check you. I just don't like the setup. I'm just not a fan of this setup at all. That's why I stay out of this game. Next, I'm talking to you about why I would never be in politics. I will reiterate, all politicians must be liars. This is an important thing for any of you who get too excited or riled up by anything a politician says or does. Understand that it's a natural part of the game that they have to lie. That's how they got there. And they will leverage the appearance of working for the people by using lies and what we call contextomy, which is pulling things out of context. They'll use them against you to win themselves political points. So if you watch the hearings that happened this week, or you saw the clips from the hearings, I'm sure many of you saw the clips probably on whatever app you're watching me on, with Hegseth specifically and Bondi specifically, that I just told you how it is. Right now, Donald Trump is the president-elect. We know he's taking office on Monday from when I'm recording this. And they took a clean sweep in the election. They got the popular vote. They got the electoral vote. The House and the Senate are all Republican right now, Republican majority control. So these hearings are really just, they are necessary because it's part of the process. But generally, in the big picture, they actually end up being for show, because Bondi and Hegseth are going to be confirmed, even if no Democrat votes to confirm them, because the Republicans have control of these branches right now. So it doesn't really matter what the Democrats have to say. However, the Democrats, understanding this, that what they say isn't really going to matter here, because their vote doesn't really matter if the Republicans just vote all on the same side, which they will, doesn't matter. What the Democrats decided to do, some of them, not all of them, some of them, like Tim Kaine was one, Gillibrand was another, and there was a couple others. And that woman from Hawaii, I don't know how she got a Senate seat, but anyway, these people, Democrats, they just went at Hegseth and Bondi and just tried to make them look bad. And all of this stuff ended up going on social media, these little 90-second clips or a 30-second clip, and people would just take it out of context and be like, look, Pete Hegseth is completely unqualified, or Bondi's trash because of this little clip that came out. But if you listen to the entire line of questioning, and each person only gets like 4 minutes. So y'all should listen to these, watch these videos on YouTube so y'all can really understand how these things work. All these people are trying to do is points. And why would they do that? Why would the one from, for example, she was terrible, but she won an election. Somehow, some way she got voted into the Senate, and what they do is what we call contextomy. Contextomy means when you pull something out of context and then you present it as if it is by itself without the context. Don't let people know you pulled it out of context, and then you use that as an offensive weapon against your opponent. And people do this all the time. Human beings do this all day, every day. And politicians do this for a living. All right, you have to be an expert at this. You're going to be a successful politician. Everybody, let me say that one more time. Democrat, Republican, doesn't matter what part of the government. If you're going to be a successful politician, you must become an expert at contextomy. Contextomy means pulling something out of context and then using it as if it's the full reality of the situation. They all do it. Democrats do it. The Republicans do it. They all do it. They pull things out of context. For example, when people talk about, I saw Barack Obama, he was talking about Donald Trump claiming during his first term that he made a great economy, right? Every president does. They talk about all the great things they did for the economy. Right now, you're hearing it with Joe Biden. And then what happens is the previous president will say, well, the only reason your economy was successful is because I set it up. And this is what people say. Barack Obama even said it. He said, Donald Trump talked about how great the economy was. And Barack Obama says, I know, because it was my economy. And everybody cheered, his fans. So he's claiming that it was his economy that made the economy great. And then at the same time, if a president comes in and they have a trashy economy, and Barack Obama, for much of his terms, had a trashy economy, what does he say? He said, oh, well, the economy was trash because of the previous guy. So they'll take credit for it when it's looking good, but they'll blame it on the other guy when it's looking bad. That's contextomy, pulling things out of context and just shifting the goalposts whenever it happens to serve you. And contextomy is also like these Democratic senators. Like when Pam Bondi was up for her hearing, her confirmation hearing, you had a couple of Democrats saying things like, all right, Pam Bondi, will you just admit that Donald Trump lost the 2020 election? First of all, it's 2025. Why are they still talking about this? Why does it even matter? Why does that even matter? Why are they asking about the 2020 election and it's 2025? And the answer is there is no answer. The answer is what I just told you. They're just going to use you to try to win some points politically, to try to damage you a little bit, give you a black eye, make you look bad. Even though they know they're going to lose the fight, they just want to land a couple punches. That's what this is, to give you a good metaphor. They just want to land a couple punches so they can at least get a moral victory out of this. Hey, I made Pete Hegseth look bad. I made social media say that he was unqualified. I made Bondi look bad because she won't admit, quote unquote, admit that Donald Trump lost the 2020 election. And her answer to the question was, Joe Biden is the president. He's been the president for the last 4 years. I don't know what else you want me to say. And then they'll just try to hammer you on that. They'll just keep going at you and trying to hammer you. And then they'll cut you off in the middle of your answer and ask the same question again. Can you just admit it? Can you just answer the question? You want to answer the question? You want to answer the question? I find it very interesting that you want to answer the question. Then they move on to the next question. And then they get there 4 minutes. Then the time is up and you got to go to the next person comes and fires at you. This is what you got to deal with. And that's how it goes. If you didn't watch these hearings, y'all should watch them so y'all understand how this stuff works. And they're all lying. When you pull things out of context and you use it as an offensive weapon against your opponent and you know you pulled it out of context, you are lying. That's a lie. You're telling the truth or you're lying. Or you just don't know what you're talking about. It's one of three things when people speak. There's no such thing as misinformation or disinformation. You are either telling the truth or you're lying or you don't know what you're talking about. Those are only three options. These politicians know exactly what they're doing and they know that they're lying. And again, this is what I explained. To be a successful politician, and these people are all successful because they all got elected. Only way you get on Capitol Hill is you got to win. And they're all successful politicians and they know that they're lying and they do it anyway. I can't play that game. It's just a very nasty game. And I'm gonna get to that in a minute. And they all do this. And again, it's pulling things out of context. Donald Trump has brought this to the forefront. We get more of a spotlight on this type of behavior now because of Donald Trump's presence. He did not invent this. And as a matter of fact, it was his opponents who started doing it more because they dislike him so much that they'll take anything he says, pull it out of context, and then use it against not only him, but people who are connected to him. Because Pete Hegseth and Pam Bondi were the ones being on these hearings. It wasn't Donald Trump. But all their opponents, if you listen to the things that a lot of their opponents are saying, a lot of it is just about Donald Trump. Listen to the Hegseth confirmation hearing. Half of it was about Trump, the attacks. Half of it was about Trump. The other half was about Pete himself because he has a history of alcohol. He has a history of cheating on his wives, and people are trying to use. And he has a history of he hasn't served in a job as big as the one that they're putting him up for, Secretary of Defense. So half of it was about that, his own background, and the other half was about, well, you're connected to Donald Trump, so we're going to use Donald Trump as a proxy to attack you. So basically, they attack Donald Trump through him. So they're attacking Pete Hegseth for anything that they can say about Donald Trump, and then Bondi, 100% of the attacks on her were about Donald Trump. They couldn't attack her for anything because there's nothing negative. She don't really have any mud on her record, but they used whatever they could find about Donald Trump and they applied it to her and made her answer for things about Donald Trump. And she's had to say many times, like, hey, you're questioning me about something Donald Trump allegedly said, and she's a lawyer. So this can text to me thing. The good thing about having a law degree, not me, but her, is that no lawyer falls for that. Like these loaded questions and pulling things out of context and then trying to, because here's the issue with pulling things out of context and using loaded questions. And you should never answer a loaded question. This is the reason why I point out logical fallacies all the time, because I'm trying to help you all understand this. When someone uses a logical fallacy against you and you engage with their fallacy, they have just turned the tables and they've shifted the terrain and now you're playing their game. This is why you got to be really good at catching this bullshit so that when they do it, you can point it out and then you can refuse to engage with their frame. Because if you engage with their frame, even if you answer the question, quote unquote, correctly, now you're playing their game. Now they have control of you. So if someone says something like, give you an example. They did this with Pam Bondi. They'll say something like, Miss Bondi, can you admit now today, since you're going to be I think it's Attorney General she was going for, can you admit that Donald Trump lost the 2020 election? If she had answered that question, let's just say she says yes. If she says yes, now what they're going to do is they're going to take that and say, hey, President Trump, your own Attorney General said you lost the 2020 election. Can you say that you lost it? And if he says yes, then it's like, oh, Donald Trump lost the election. They would try to hold that against him. You lost, you lost, you lost. If he says no, then they're going to say, well, why are you disagreeing with your own Attorney General? Didn't you appoint her? Now what they're doing is trying to create a rift. This is what people do. And this is how they will play it. And then when she says no, if she would have said no, Donald Trump did not lose the 2020 election. Now what are they going to say? Oh, she's an insurrectionist. She is rejecting the results of a free and fair election. So either way you answer the question, you look bad. You see what I mean? And this is why you got to be very careful when people throw loaded questions at you, because they're using it. They're just trying to use it as a manipulative tactic. The good thing about Pam Bondi and Pete Hegseth, because they were properly prepared, is that when you work in the legal system, especially Bondi, she's been a lawyer for decades. You never fall for these traps. These are elementary traps. Now, any of you who falls for these traps, again, these are elementary level traps that people use in everyday conversation. A lawyer with 20 years of experience, there's no way anybody's going to get you with that. Now, she's done prosecutions. She's been in the courtroom. She's been on trial. No way she's going to fall for that, but they had to try it anyway. And this is why it's so important that I always emphasize people communication skills. Communication is not just your ability to speak, but also your ability to listen, your ability to interpret, and your ability to notice when someone's trying to use some nonsense on you and not falling for their game. Because if you jump into that pool, now they got you. And these things that are pulled out of context. So they said, I can't remember who said it, but one of the Democratic senators said this during the hearings. They said, well, Trump says he's going to be a dictator from day one. All right. When he said that, it was a tongue-in-cheek statement that he said it. And the way he was talking about it was in the context is a completely different statement than if you just pull that out. Trump said, I'm going to be a dictator from day one. All right. And they try to use that against them. They said that in one of the questions, didn't even ask the person to respond to it, but they just throw it out there so it's on the record. And this is all, these politicians get emotional as well. But they're doing it as a game. They know what they're doing, but the people get emotional not understanding the game that's being played. And all these politicians, when that hearing is over, they go sit and eat lunch together. Well, maybe not eat lunch together, but they can shake each other's hands because they know what they're doing. They know this is part of what you got to do if you're going to be a successful politician. You got to rile up your base, et cetera, et cetera. There's going to be a bloodbath if I don't win. That's not what Donald Trump said. He was talking about the auto industry. There will be a bloodbath if things don't go well, i.e., if y'all don't vote for me, you may face a bloodbath because look how bad they have it right now. So again, when these things are pulled out of context, people go and believe them. They go repeat them. You hear something often enough, you come to accept it in the subconscious mind, and now you go argue about it, not even knowing what you're talking about. This is what politics does, and the media is helping. And again, this only got worse because Donald Trump won. It's got worse because Donald Trump won because people have never been so emotionally engaged in politics as when Trump stepped in. See, this whole back and forth and pulling things out of context and the lies and the loaded questions have always been a part of the political game, the political theater. But now it's become like people are making it more personal because they personally do not like it. And they've gotten the voters to personally not like a person. Back when it was George W. Bush and Barack Obama, people might have said, no, I don't want Barack to win. I'm mad that Barack won. I don't like George W. Bush. People didn't like a politician, but it wasn't personal. Now it's personal. And anyone who's connected to Trump or the MAGA movement, if it continues after Trump, they're making it personal. And that's what's made it more, let's just say exciting, for lack of a better term. Speaking of such, let me get to my next point. Got 2 more points here about why I would never be involved in politics in general, even though all these things I'm saying are very, exciting and sensational. That's the word I was looking for. Politics is fucking boring. It's actually boring. Now, the parts that you see on social media, this is what social media does. And this is what I talked when I talked about how the mainstream media lost the plot and they destroyed themselves, shot themselves in the foot, is because the mainstream media started trying to be like social media, but they're not good at it. Politics in general is just boring. You understand that when you are a politician, I'm not talking about watching politics, but being involved in politics, that hearing for Pete Hegseth was like four hours long. Pam Bondi was another 4 hours. That guy I was listening to yesterday, the Secretary of Interior, whatever his job was, that shit was boring. And when you are a politician, you got to sit in a bunch of these boring ass meetings all the time, and you have to be there. You can't leave. And you got to sit there and listen to everybody else talk and drone on and on and on about what they think and what's happening in their state and this thing that they care about that you don't care a damn thing about. But you got to sit there and listen to it, and you got to stay awake and you got to stay alert for your little 4 minutes to talk. But you got to sit there for 3 hours. You get 8 minutes total. And this is what you got to do when you're a politician. So do not think the politician is all this. Being a politician is all this excitement that's happening all the time. And this is actually in every industry. This applies to politics, but it applies in everything. As a matter of fact, it applies in sports. That most of the time in sports, I know y'all watch the games, and the games are all exciting, but most of sports is not the games. It's the trainings, it's the practices, it's the workouts, it's doing the same warm up, the same cool down, the same stuff over and over and over again, even when you don't feel like it. That's the game. If you're going to get in, I have some background. I've done some TV work. I've done some modeling work today. The thing that I hated the most about it was not the photos or the video that comes out at the end. That's the fun part. The part that you hate the most about it is you're sitting around a lot. Any of you done a photo shoot, like a professional photo shoot with a big organization where they got all these people and all the staff and all these camera angles and all that stuff? You know what you spend most of the time doing when you're at a photo shoot or a TV shoot? Most of the time, you're just sitting around doing a whole bunch of nothing while they adjust cameras and they adjust the lightings and they got to change this set and they're all the cameramen and the producers are all talking to each other, and you're not doing anything. You're just sitting there. You're sitting there just talking to the other people, the other models or the other people on TV, which is mentally very challenging because these people have nothing intellectually to offer, nothing intellectually stimulating to offer the conversation. Physically pretty, but nothing to talk about. And you're just sitting there. You might be on set for 8 hours. You were actually on the camera for maybe 20 minutes, even though you're on the set for 8 hours. That's the way it is. Most jobs is like that. There's the exciting part that everybody sees on the internet, and then there's the actual job, which is 90% of it, and is not exciting at all. It's not sensational. It's not fun. There's nothing interesting about it. And many people get into things for the wrong reasons because you looked at it on the internet and it sounds exciting, and you look at the returns from it, the nice cars and the pictures and the vacations and the nice office. You'll realize 90% of the work is grunt work. And in politics, 90% of the work is grunt work. You're having these meetings, you're getting briefed on all kinds of things. You got to go meet somebody who they're visiting the White House or they're visiting the Capitol. You don't even know their damn name. And your assistant got to tell you their name in your ear while you're walking up to shake their hand. And you got to talk to them and pretend to give a damn about the nonsense they're talking about for 5 minutes. Then they got to leave. Then you got to talk to the next person. Then you got to go to this meeting over here. And all this shit is boring. And most of it doesn't make it to the internet because nothing exciting about it. That's the actual job, as opposed to what it looks like on the internet. So any of you want to get into any industry, I tell people this all the time. You want to get into any industry, you need to go find somebody who actually works in that industry and is actively working in it, and find out what the job really is as opposed to what it looks like, because the job is never what it looks like. It's never what it looks like. Any of you doesn't have kids, actually any of you who does have kids, think about what you thought having kids was like before you had kids versus what it was actually like, especially the mothers out there. The father's a little bit different, but especially if you're a mom. Think about what you thought having kids was like before you had a kid. You see people posting pictures on Instagram. They're at the mall with their kid, and the kid got on a nice outfit, and you're buying them stuff, and they look all, and the mom got on all the makeup, and she looks all great. Think about how that looks on the internet versus how it actually is when you're waking up every day. You only got 4 hours of sleep. The kid woke up 3 times, and now you got to make him breakfast, and you can't because you sit there for 5 minutes, the kid's going to be all in your face. And think about what it's really like versus what it looks like on the internet. And I want y'all to understand every industry is like that. All right? Everybody understand? Every industry is like that. Someone said real estate is an excellent example, I'm sure. All right? You're posting stuff and you're updating the MLS and doing showings. And again, it's not TV. It's not reality TV. All right? Reality TV is not real. Everybody understand that? Reality TV ain't real. Y'all want to see what politics is really like? Turn on C-SPAN. C-SPAN still exists, right? Turn on C-SPAN, and I believe they're on like 24 hours a day, and they're just showing you stuff that's happening in the government. You're going to fall asleep within 30 minutes. Now, imagine you working there. Now, you can't fall asleep. You got to actually stay there and do the work. That's what it's really like. All right, so do not be excited by anything you see on the internet, especially on social media. Social media is designed to pull the exciting parts out of everything, show you the exciting parts, to intrigue you into thinking that that's what it's really like when it's not what it's really like. And this applies to everything. This applies to the girls you see on social media. It applies to the cars. It applies to the jobs. It applies to the little sound bites, the 30-second out of context clips. Don't show you the rest of the 3 hours because nothing in the rest of the 3 hours was not exciting at all. There was 30 seconds of excitement. And then you see that part and you think that's what it's really like. No, it's not. Number 9. Last point. As a general point, and I've touched on this many times already in this conversation, especially in the United States when we're talking about politics. This is a dirty, nasty game. It is very dirty. It is very nasty. If you don't want to get your hands dirty, you don't want to get the cuffs of your pants dirty, you don't want to play dirty, you don't want to lie, you don't want to take things out of context, you don't want to beat people up for the cameras. I don't mean physically beat them up, but verbally beat people up for the cameras. You don't want to take things out of context and use loaded questions and loaded statements to make the other side look bad, not because you personally don't like them, but because you have to do it in order to stir up your base and to win votes and to get money and to push through the initiatives you want to push through. You don't like pretending to like people who you don't actually like, shaking hands with people who you actually hate. If you don't like doing all this stuff, you don't like listening to people tell you about all their problems and all their shit when you don't really care, but you got to stand there and pretend that you're actually paying attention. If you don't like doing these things, do not get involved in politics. Now, this is why I'm not in politics. I don't have a problem speaking publicly. I don't have a problem telling people the truth, but you can't do those things I mean, if you're not willing to do all these things that I just laid out, do not get in this game. Politics is a nasty game, especially in America. Very nasty. And I'm only telling you the half of it because I'm not even in politics. If I was to actually get in politics for 4 years or 6 years or something like that and then get out, I could probably tell you another hour's worth of the nasty shit that happens in politics. I'm telling you what I noticed from the outside looking in. This is just me paying attention and listening, that how nasty it is. If you're going to be a successful politician in America, there's a certain amount of your soul that you must sell in order to get in the game and win. How many of you are prepared to sell a percentage of your soul? You might not have to sell the whole thing. It's like Shark Tank. You know, you go on Shark Tank, you say, I'm offering 30% of my business for $300,000. How much of your soul are you willing to sell to be a successful politician? And they all do it. Again, this is not a Democrat thing. This is not a Republican thing. They all do it. Every successful politician must sell some of their soul in order to get in. Now, if you don't sell your soul and you still try to get in politics, what's going to happen is they'll let you try, but you're going to lose. You're going to lose. You're going to lose your election because the opponent who is willing to sell more of their soul than you are willing to sell, they're just going to get more votes than you. They're going to have more money than you. They're going to have more donors. They're going to have more support, and it's going to be. Period. That's how it works. You cannot be successful in politics keeping it real. You can be successful in entrepreneurship keeping it real, not in politics. All that said, folks, let's get to the comments here. We're talking here today about why I personally would never get involved in politics. O-Dog on YouTube said Ron Paul didn't sell his soul allegedly. All right, I don't know that much about Ron Paul, but did he claim that? Is that what he's saying, that he didn't sell his soul? I think he had to sell something. Maybe he didn't sell his soul, but he sold something. In order to win an election, you got to sell something. You can't just be straight up and down and win elections in America. It's just not possible. A local election, you might be able to win on a local level, but not the federal level. No, it's not happening. All right, let's see what we got over on TikTok. What's going on, Brittany? Good morning. Thank you for moderating as usual. You got a question or comment over here on TikTok? Go ahead and post it. Let's get to it. And mind you, I'm scrolling through from as far up as I can go with the comments, and I'm reading them retroactively. We're at 10,000 likes. Can we get the 15 likes here? 15,000 likes, please, TikTokers. And by the way, I'm live on 7 different platforms right now. Make sure you subscribe to my YouTube channel. Allegedly, TikTok is going to get banned on Sunday if they don't divest the company. I don't think they're going to divest. And I think all that happens, I saw somebody talking about this. All that will happen is that you can't download the app from the App Store, but the app will still be here. I will still be here on TikTok Monday. I do lives Monday through Friday, 8 a.m. Eastern. Make sure you subscribe to my YouTube channel. The link is in my profile on TikTok. And my YouTube is youtube.com/@DreB, D-R-E, the letter B. Dre Baldwin is my actual name. You just look my name up. I'm easy to find on any social media platform. I'm public on all, and I'm on all of them. And what was the other thing? Oh, yeah, lives Monday through Friday, 8 a.m. Monday, I'll be talking about Donald Trump part 2 because that's his inauguration day. So we'll be talking about Donald Trump. Donald Trump's a great topic for these because Donald Trump draws attention. Texan 357, number 1 gifted badge. Good morning. ECU Nice Guy says, go Trump 2025. Everybody should want Trump to go because he's the president. So he's the president for everybody, even if you don't like him or you didn't vote for him. So we should want him to be successful. Alex said, you guys help me. Now I have 6 barbershops. Congratulations. How do we help you? Irma V, good morning. Good to see you. Thank you for the rose. Thank you, everybody who sent the gifts while I was talking. I don't always see them while I'm talking, but I appreciate the gifts that came through. Renata said, I thought you were describing my job. I was. Renata Haley, I was describing your job. That's everybody's job. Pamela, I appreciate that. What is that? Team bracelet. Thank you for the bracelet. John Smith said, business is 100% more respectable than political shilling. Good on you. John, I agree with you. Yes. To be a politician, you got to sell your soul at some level, not all of it, but you got to sell a percentage and you might not be able to buy it back. That's what it is. Brandy said, I think that's all people. Generally, yes, it depends on what kind of life you live, though. Depending on how you live, you may have to deal with more or less of it. It just depends on your decisions. Renata said, Donald Trump doesn't have a problem letting the world know how he feels about everyone. Yes, that's why he's a very unique politician, because most politicians could not be that level of open and brash and be successful. That's why the media still, 10 years later, still hasn't figured out how to deal with this guy. Because his approach is just so different than what most politicians do. Most politicians would never say some of the things that he said. And they wouldn't get away with the things that he has allegedly done or said. So that's why. Just thinking back to that Rosie O'Donnell thing, like calling Rosie O'Donnell a pig and nasty and all those things. He did that, and he admitted to it, and he became more popular when he pointed it out. There's no other politician that we've seen in the last 25 years who could have got away with that. Only he could. So that's why they don't know. They still haven't figured out how to respond to him. And here we are 3 elections later. MJ said, "Are you kidding me? People tried." Wait a minute. TikTok gave me a captcha. MJ said, "Are you kidding me? People tried everything to bring down Obama." Yes, they did. And they did try to bring him down. The Republicans did a pretty good job because they had a majority during the latter half of his term, and he couldn't get anything done. And that's what it is. Alex says, "Facts. They all say what you want to hear." Yes, they do. They have to, though. I mean, they understand the game. Everything I'm explaining here, they understand. They may not be able to explain it the way I did, but they all understand it because they can't win if they don't. Lester said, "The delegates in the party you are in, you have to convince them." Yes, exactly. And to convince them, you might have to offer them something. They may ask for something. Everybody wants something. That's what I noticed listening to those hearings. Everybody wants something. Renata said, "Don't count yourself out. This country is in desperate need of a leader that speaks truth." I wouldn't get so. I wouldn't be that optimistic, Renata. I don't think people want truth. People want to hear what they want to hear, and some people want to hear truth, but it's a very small percentage of the population. Not everybody wants to hear truth. As humans, we tend to overestimate how many other people think the way that we think. Most people do not think the way that we're talking here today. Trust me. You go out and actually start talking to masses of people, you'll understand very quickly. JR Touch said, "It's like a broken record that can't be fixed." You got the gifter badge. Shout out to JR Touch. Kimberly got the #1 gifter badge. Congrats. Rock, paper, scissors. Thank you. I appreciate that. Icy Princess says, "That's manipulation by definition." Yes, well, everything is manipulation technically. But yes, it is manipulation. But they know that they're doing it. And the thing is, all humans have to manipulate in some way. I mean, if you're going to get what you want in life, you must figure out how to manipulate. We even got to manipulate ourselves. Your alarm clock goes off at 6 a.m. You don't want to get out of bed. You got to manipulate yourself to get out of bed. Your 3-year-old wants a snack. They're trying to manipulate you to get the snack. So everything is technically manipulation. I get what you mean, but manipulation is not necessarily a bad thing. Depends on how you use it. Cars fan says, "Stop corruption about that." Yeah, well, corruption is baked into the system. I don't think it's going away. I mean, Donald Trump tried to stop the corruption in his first term, but there's too much of it. He can't do it all and do his actual job, which is a whole bunch of other stuff that has nothing to do with that. You can't do it all at the same time. He had 4 years. He couldn't do all of it. He got 4 more years. He still won't do all of it. He's going to do what he can, but he probably understands why the system is the system. You notice he didn't say anything about draining the swamp this time around, right? Because he realized how deep that swamp is. It's hard to drain the swamp. There ain't nothing but alligators in there. Cars fan says, "Stop corruption and needless spending." All right, good luck. Good luck. That ain't happening. Icy Princess got the gifter badge. Cars said, "Everyone wants to hear about." Yeah, well, yeah, you say that. You can say it, but is it going to happen? Cars got #3 badge. Appreciate you. Kimberly said, "The masses of people don't." Yes, exactly. Masses of people don't want to hear this stuff. Give everyone free pizza. No, people don't need free pizza. People need free fruits and vegetables, water, not pizza. Britt said, "People will pay for pizza." Britt said, "Good morning. Happy Friday." Good morning, Brittany. We're almost at 15K, folks. Can we get 20? Carr says, "Better than Sleepy Joe Biden." Probably. T, good morning. Liz, good morning. Cards fans, "I was interested to watch, but I couldn't watch the whole thing because I'm lazy." Yes, exactly. Exactly. What you do is, if you're a native English speaker, folks, here's a simple hack. I didn't know everybody didn't know this. Just put the video on 2x speed. I can listen to anyone who's a native English speaker on at least 2x speed. And often I'll speed it up even faster. Like right now, I'm reading one of Barack Obama's books on audio. I got it on 2.3x. I had it on 3x, but he talks a little bit fast, so I had to put it on 2.3. When I listen to Joe Rogan, usually I put it on 3x. So you can get through a lot more material in less time. Just put it on a faster speed. I listen to everything on at least 2x. If I had to put it less than 2x, that means you talk really, really fast. It's only one person I could think of I've listened to. I had to put it less than 2x. But everybody else, 2x and more. YouTube only allows 2x. They don't allow faster. If YouTube had 3x, I would listen to stuff on 3x. So that's all that means is you all got to listen faster. so you can get through more material in less time. Yes, Trump didn't quit, Cars fan. You're right about that. Icy Princess says, do I study psychology? Yes, I do. Not academically study, but I do study human psychology. I talk about it, read about it, listen to stuff about it all the time. Psychology is the psychology / mindset. Icy Princess is the foundation of human behavior. Now, we do what we do because of the way we think. So I'm a big, what do you want to call it, consumer of anything that involves human psychology, because it branches out to every other thing we do. Relationships, sex, dating, money, finance, business, careers, all of it's based on how we think. We think one way, then we act a way that is aligned with those thoughts. Change your thoughts, you change your actions. Change your actions, change your outcomes. Brittany said, thoughts on Colton Moore in Georgia being arrested. He helped expose fans. I didn't know about that. I would have to read up about it. So I didn't know that happened. Who is Colton Moore, though? Who was he? Paulina with a gift. Thank you, Paulina. Cars fans that says, does right or wrong even matter? It depends on who's identifying right or wrong. Maybe in the court, maybe. But if you don't get caught, then it doesn't matter, no. Alex said, you have to answer to the unintended consequences. Yes, exactly. T said, not Trump, he looks the same. Yeah, that's true. He does pretty much look the same. He was already old, though. Barack Obama was younger. So we got to give him the benefit of the doubt. The car said Biden sleeps half the time. Well, he's out now. K.S. Franklin said, explain the extent of power of an executive order. That's not the topic here today. That'd be more on a conversation about presidents. But if you could take that same question, K.S. Franklin, and post it in Chat GPT, it would explain it better than I could. At least for now. K.S. Franklin said, are you telling me there are no honest and altruistic politicians? Yes, that's what I'm telling you. Now, the key is, here's the key, K.S. Franklin. If you're going to reach the masses of people, you have to be lying and pulling things out of context and masquerading the truth while appearing to be being honest and altruistic. That's the skill. Person who's been the best at this in the last 25 years, we got to say Barack Obama. He's been the best at it. Barack Obama tells plenty of lies. He fronts. He manipulates. He does all of those things. But the thing is, he does it in such a smooth, feels like he's always telling you the truth. But is he always telling the truth? No, he's not. And you can apply that to every politician. He's just really, really good at it. Like, listen to somebody like Kamala Harris as in comparison. Juxtapose Barack Obama with Kamala Harris. Barack Obama will tell you a lie, but make it sound really good. Kamala Harris will tell you a lie and it sounded really sloppy. They're both doing the same thing. It's just Barack was a much better speaker. It's a big reason why he won 2 elections. Very smooth conversationalist, very smooth talker, great communicator. Kamala Harris was not a good communicator, which is why she would never have even got the Democratic ticket had she had to compete against other Democratic candidates. She only got that ticket because it was handed to her. Had she had to earn it, there's no way she would have won. She doesn't. So they're saying she might try to run in 2028. And then she can try. She's not going to win. She won't even win the Democratic ticket. And the reason why has nothing to do with the voting or anything like that. Kamala Harris is like 60 years old. She ain't getting better at communication. She is who she is. So, yeah, KB said Hawaii is crazy. Yeah, it is crazy. That woman from Hawaii, yeah, she was out of pocket. But she won. Hawaii voted for her. So, hey, they voted for her. Blue Square said they told the truth in both of them. Yeah. Casey said that's what they always do, where they make up stuff about the person they did to Kavanaugh. Yeah, Kavanaugh was a good example there, where they just went at him. They went at him hard. They did the same thing to Clarence Thomas way back in the day. Back in the 90s, did that to Clarence Thomas. Same role, same situation, a hearing to be appointed to the Supreme Court. Then, and they did it to Hegseth, but it wasn't strong because they didn't have a person coming forward saying anything. Kavanaugh was crazy too. Jen said Dems are unhinged since the big November loss. Well, they've been unhinged. They've been unhinged as long as Trump's been in politics. It's Trump that's got them unhinged. And the fact that he won on top of that, yes. Kurt said TikTok has made it harder to sell, taking stuff out of context. Well, I think I'm understanding what you're saying here, Kurt. It's easier to take stuff out of context. Just social media, period, has made it easier for everybody to do that. And people are more interested in out of context stuff because you can consume it in a shorter period of time. So 30 seconds is a lot less time than 30 minutes. Eli says that why are they getting rid of it? Well, the government of America has claimed that it's a security issue to have TikTok because TikTok is not controlled by an American-based company. So they're telling TikTok, sell your company to someone based in America, or we're going to shut you down and not have you be on the platform. I disagree with that. I think Americans, us, we should be able to get whatever information we want from wherever we want to get it, regardless of who owns it. That's what freedom of speech and freedom of information means. What the government is saying is we want to control we want to have access to the people who own any platform that is sharing your information. I disagree with that. That's censorship. That's what it is. So they're saying because TikTok is owned by a company that is based in a country that they believe is adversarial to America, they're saying TikTok shouldn't be able to exist in America. I disagree. I believe that even if a country that is adversarial to us, if they are, I'm not even saying that they are, if there's a country who's adversarial to us, let's just say the country that starts with the letter C and the country that starts with the letter R, those are two big powers aside from us. Even if information is coming from one of those countries, I want to hear what they have to say. I can decide on my own if it's true or if it's not, if I should believe it or if I don't. If it's propaganda, I want to see it. I can decide with my own thinking if I want to accept it or I don't want to accept it. But the government should not be able to tell me, Dre, you can't listen to this or watch this or consume this because it came from this country. Who are you to tell me what I can listen to? Again, First Amendment, free speech. And free speech is not only what you say, but also what you hear. The government shouldn't be able to tell me what I should hear and what I shouldn't hear, which is why when they were doing all that censorship in 2020 over that virus, that was nonsense. And a bunch of social media platforms engaged in this. Facebook, most popularly, Mark Zuckerberg. So I talked about him a couple of days ago. And I said he's playing the game right now. Politically, he's jumping into the right side because right is in power. But when the left was in power, he was on the left side. That's who he is. He's playing the game. I don't knock him for playing the game, but at the same time, you can't trust him overall because he's going to do whatever is expedient for him. Squeeze on him. And see, that kind of keeping it real, this is what I'm keeping it this real. So, but the government, in short, hopefully I answered your question here. They're trying to control what information Americans have access to. And I'm not a fan of that. Even that whole thing with the R word country, when they said a bunch of those, they said were companies who were paying some influencers in America and the influencers didn't know the money was coming from the R word. And then it got found out. None of those people got charged because they didn't know it was coming from the R word. That was proven. But then people are like, well, what I'm asking is, why does it matter? Why does it matter where the information came from? I can consume whatever I want. Government is not my parents. You can't tell me what I can watch and what I can't watch. I want to be able to take whatever I want from wherever I want, and I'll make my own choices. So that's what they're trying to do with TikTok. That's the premise of the basis of their argument is we want to control what you take in. Rashim says, shouldn't character matter for someone appointed to represent the people, though? Yes, of course. Rashim, Tony, yes, character should matter. The issue is character and how people judge other people's characters is extremely subjective, is 100% subjective. So if you think a person is of bad character and I think they're of good character, who's right and who's wrong? Answer is neither one of us. So when it comes to someone like Pete Hegseth, there are a bunch of Democrats who are trying to assassinate his character and saying he's a bad character guy. And Democratic followers said the same thing. And then there are a bunch of people on the other side who said he's a good character guy. So what do we get? In the end, it comes down to the vote. And the reality is right now, the Republicans have the vote by the ass. So whoever they want is getting in. That's what it is. Thank you, Jake. Very true and accurate explanation. Thank you. Apple user. Thank you. Insomnia. Good morning. Kurt says it makes it easier to sell when the media sells a lie. That's right. And a lot of media is leaning to the left. But now you have Elon went and bought X, and we know Elon leans to the right. He's MAGA, at least for now. And that sort of starts to balance things out. Jake said, few, if any, have any character. None of us are perfect, must accept compromise. Well, yeah, in politics, you got it. Everything's a compromise. Wait, Bake Boss, thank you for that gift there, the hat. Abby said, speaking of sus, as I scroll past you, sorry, that was hilarious because you are. Well, thank you. I appreciate that, Abby. Kurt said, we need people like you in politics, but folks like you have better things to do. Yeah, I agree with both of those. Yes, I do have better things to do because of the setup of politics. Now, politics was designed in a different way, then I might take a look at it. But the way it's currently designed, no way. Pamela Pritchett said, real estate is an excellent example. Yeah, I'm sure it is. All right, so I'll take a few more comments here. If you got something, go ahead and post it. Dana got the number 2 gifter bag. Make sure you subscribe to everybody who is watching me on TikTok. My YouTube link is in my profile. It's youtube.com/@DreB, or just look up my name, which is Dre, D-R-E. Last name is Baldwin, B-A-L-D-W-I-N. All these replays, these live streams are on YouTube. And I'm live on YouTube right now. I'm just looking at TikTok because I'm looking at the comments. But I'm live right now on YouTube, Rumble, X, Facebook, LinkedIn, Instagram, and TikTok, all at the same time. Let's see. Anybody else got a question or comment? Go ahead and post it. I do these lives 8 a.m. Eastern, Monday through Friday. Oh, so that guy is a Georgia senator? Okay, I didn't know that. Dr. Bob Fanboy said, name something you are not good at. Tennis. I'm not good at tennis. I think I would have been good had I decided to focus on tennis. Tennis is agility, speed, conditioning, quickness. I think I would have been pretty good at tennis had I played it. Baked Ball said, this is balanced thinking. Thank you. Not everybody thinks that, but thank you. Thank you for the gift, Baked Boss. Someone said, what do I think of TikTok? No, I don't think it's going to be out of here. I think the way someone explained it is that even if the U.S. follows through on the ban, quote unquote, of TikTok, all it means is that the app will no longer be available in the App Store. And if TikTok pushes an update through, you can't update the App Store. So the app itself, as long as you have TikTok on your phone, you'll still have access to TikTok. It's just you can't, if they do the shutdown, nobody could go download TikTok off the App Store because it won't be there. But we'll still be able to use it as long as you still have it on your phone. And I'm pretty sure they'll figure this out between TikTok and the government. I think they'll figure it out eventually, and it's not going away. I don't think the government would make TikTok completely go away. It doesn't seem to make sense. And I think a lot of people are going to push back regarding, for the same reason that I said, free speech. The United States says it's a place of free speech. So if TikTok, no matter where they're based, if they want to give some speech to Americans through the internet, why not? What's wrong with it? Why should they be blocked from doing that? Just because they're based in another country? Matt Villainy said, who from Hawaii was I speaking of? I was speaking of the senator from Hawaii. I forget the woman's name. What's that woman's name? Who was the senator from Hawaii who was speaking at the hearings this week? I forget her name. I was not a fan of her approach. Let me see if I can find it. Because I know I went in Chat GPT and asked them, who is this person? Her name is Mazie Hirono, or Mazie. Hirono. Mazie Hirono. She's a Democratic politician representing the state of Hawaii. She has served as a senator since 2013, the first Asian American woman and the first Buddhist to serve in the Senate. I know being the first Buddhist to serve was an accomplishment. Why do they even have this in here? This is Chat GPT I'm reading. Asian American, I get. The first Buddhist is like being the first Christian or the first Jewish person. What is that? When did that become news? She was born in 1947. So what does that make her? 1947, what does that make her? 53, 20, she's damn near 80 years old. She's pretty old. She's about the same age as Donald Trump. She looks good for her age. I'll say that. But who knows? She had makeup on. Who knows? She looks pretty good for her age, pretty healthy for her age. And she was born in Japan and immigrated to the United States as a child. So she used to work in the House of Representatives till 2013. She was also the lieutenant governor of Hawaii for 8 years. And she's a member and was a member of the state House of Representatives. She's known for her progressive stances on issues such as healthcare, immigration, climate change, women's rights, and education. All right, so I already know everything I need to know about this one. I read this yesterday, but progressive stances on healthcare, immigration, climate change, women's rights, and education. She's an advocate for marginalized communities and often speaks out against bigotry and injustice. But this is what they voted for, so that's who she is. She was, and I'm bringing her up, Matt Villainy, because she was speaking at the hearing. She's on these committees. So in the Senate, she serves on the committees such as the Judiciary Committee and the Armed Services Committee, where she focuses on legal issues, national security, and Veterans Affairs. So that's why she was speaking at the Hegseth event. She's a vocal and passionate legislator known for her straightforward and unapologetic approach to tackling national issues. I think that is accurate. Now, her approach is the questionable part, and her approach is right here, is all laid out what she's about. Good thing about politics is that you can find out what people are about very easily because everything they do is news. It's public. The bad thing is when you find out what they're about, you might not be so happy. So that's all I got to say about the Hawaii Senator, Mrs. Hirono. I'm not a fan. I didn't like her. I just didn't like her approach. And it's not so much that she was going against somebody that I like. It's not even what it's about. It's she was pulling things out of context and she was using loaded questions, and that's all she did. Everything she said was a loaded question or something pulled out of context. And that tells me this is her normal mode of operation, which I'm not a fan of that. If you do it every now and then, even Donald Trump does it. Barack Obama did it every now and then. You can't do it all the time. That's all she did. And I never heard of her before. So granted, I have a very small sample size of her style. But as they say about, they say about first impressions. My first impression of her is not a positive one. I just didn't like her approach. And there are other Democrats who challenged people, challenged Hegseth and Bondi. I didn't have a problem with their approach. I know what they got to do. I understand the game that they're playing. But at least bring some substance to the conversation. She didn't bring any. Even though she got a lot of headlines and social media engagement, probably because of what she did. I just don't like the way she did it. Aries Chica said, your content is great. You came across my For You page and not following you on YouTube. Well, I appreciate that, Aries Chica. I'm glad you found me. Shout out to the For You page on. I don't think I was on it that much today. But and Bake Boss said, Aries said, disregard my last sentence. I got you. I know what you meant. Thank you. Holy Shirt says, you're a misogynist. That's why you weren't a fan of her. Yeah, right. I'm a misogynist? I don't think so. She's a radical lefty, but yeah, I can tell. That is obvious. That's obvious. I am 100% understanding of that. All right, all that said, folks, I do these lives Monday through Friday, 8 a.m. Eastern. Monday, the topic is Donald Trump Part 2. That is the topic on Monday because Monday is Inauguration Day. I don't know what time the inauguration starts. I will watch a good amount of it. It'll probably start maybe after. Let me ask ChatGPT. What time does the inauguration start on Monday? And y'all should pay attention to this stuff so y'all can see, because a lot of stuff that's going to get talked about is going to be based on these things. So opening remarks start at 9 o'clock, musical performance. Then the official swearing in is not till 12 o'clock. And then the parade is at 2:30. So just think about that. That's 3, 4, 5. Damn, it's like 6 hours they got to sit there. This is a 6-hour event, the inauguration. Opening remarks start at 9:30. Then the parade to the White House at 2:30. They got to sit there all that time? See, this is why I can't be in politics. I don't like sitting around. 6 hours. They got to sit there for 6 hours. I drink too much water. I got to go to the bathroom. Like if I'm the president, at some point, like once every hour or two, I got to go to the bathroom. But he got to sit there the whole time. So I guess you just don't drink water. Maybe they tell him that. Don't drink water. So you don't have to go to the bathroom. I got to go to the bathroom. But anyway, I will be talking about Donald Trump on Monday, 8 a.m. Eastern. That will be the topic. Donald Trump Part 2, what it means for America and what I'm expecting during his second term. Specifically, that'll be the topic. Barring any amazing, crazy thing happening over the weekend, that's going to be the topic on Monday. And the only way something crazy could knock that off the schedule Monday is if they don't have the inauguration. So it has to be something super crazy. Assuming the inauguration happens on Monday, then Tuesday moving forward, I'll be just looking at the news and noticing what's happening, current events, social issues, etc. And then we'll be talking about those. I got a lot of things to talk about that we haven't even gotten to. So that's what I do on these live streams, Monday through Friday, 8 a.m. Eastern. Make sure you subscribe to my YouTube channel. If you like to work with me directly, have me as your direct coach. Have me as a consultant for your team or your business. We talk with entrepreneurs, sales teams, etc., especially mindset stuff, strategy stuff, system stuff. Go to workonyourgameuniversity.com. That link is in my bio as well. You want to get my emails for free every morning? Go to workonmygame.com. Workonmygame.com, or just send me a DM and just put the word email in there, and I'll have my assistant send you a link back so you can go over there and get on my email list. I send out emails every day. And again, just giving people the game. And they're not as long as my live streams, but they're going to give you some game when it comes to mindset, strategy, systems, accountability, execution, success, growth, and just getting better, working on your game. That's what we do here. So that's that, everybody. Appreciate everybody's time and attention. I will see you all on Monday, 8 a.m. Eastern. We'll be talking about Donald Trump Part 2. Everybody have a great weekend. We out of here.